Clubhouse.
Welcome to the Pop Culture Review Podcast. This is Caroline.
This is Paul.
And this is Mike. Tonight we're looking back at the week that was for the week of February 12th to the 18th of 2023.
You guys, it was Super Bowl week. Were you all jazzed?
I didn't watch a stitch of it, actually. And that's like the first in years that I didn't watch any little bit of it.
That's so crazy. Well, I was totally drawn in by the whole Kelsey brothers, Mama Kelsey and all of her Chiefs/Eagles ensembles. Yeah, I thought it was awesome. What'd you think, Mike? First of all, are you a big football fan? Do you watch all the time?
Big fan of the Giants. If the Giants aren't playing, I don't really care that much. Except for, so this year, I don't like the Eagles. I don't like the Cowboys. They are the two main rivals to the Giants in the Eastern Division. And so I root for anyone other than those teams. So I was actively repping the Chiefs and rooting for the Chiefs this week. Plus, Patrick Mahomes, who is the Chiefs quarterback, is a big Mets fan, and I am a big New York Mets fan, who I do actively watch all the time. Yeah, I was firmly in the Chiefs' corner. I was very happy about their win. Like other people, like all pop culture enthusiasts, I'm watching the Super Bowl mainly for the commercials.
Yeah, there were some good ones this year. I'm a super soft heart, so I'm going to love the ones where there was like a montage of kids being so sweet and hugging on each other and everything, and the good-natured, be kind to one another message loved. I also loved the Dunkin' ad with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. That was funny. I thought it was silly and cute to see him like that.
I think Jennifer makes that commercial. Ben doing Dunkin' looks like, honestly, based on pictures of Ben Affleck, really he's just trying to get the discount by working at Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
So it's J-Lo who actually makes that commercial really funny. Is this where you go every day?
She pulls up in the drive-thru and she's like, "Is this where you go when you say you go to work?" It's funny because she's like, "What are you doing in there?" Like, it was cute. It was funny. I give him credit for that one, and it stuck in my brain. So that's hard to do with these commercials.
There were a couple of great ones, like you said, but there are a couple of stinkers though too. So that He Gets Us, the Jesus campaign that everyone is obsessed with talking about. They had one of my favorites also was the little babies, right? Like Love Like a Child, I think was the kind of name of it. And it was pictures of cute babies hugging each other and being sweet. They also ran another commercial called Love Your Enemies. This one did not sit well for me. It was just images of our worst moments of the last few years. And
people screaming at each other. It was
just still photos of literally
nice to relive
the worst American humanity moments of the last few years. I don't think we need to be reminded of that. I don't know that a Super Bowl, and the point is, you see all these bad things, rise above it and love your neighbors. But that is not what you're getting from that commercial.
It's too soon for those images. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see people screaming in each other's faces. Like, no. It's not the right time.
Another stinker for me was the Binky Dad. This was a Kia car commercial. Dad drives all over God's green earth. Jesus gets us, to retrieve his father, to retrieve his baby's Binky. And he finally gets back and everyone is applauding him. And he's this hero for doing a basic job of a parent. And it's the wrong Binky. So he has to go back and do it all over again. I hate this bullshit. Why are we applauding this loser who doesn't know his basic fucking child's basic color choice on his Binky? My lord, you should know your kid's preferred Binky. What are you doing? Get off their ass and be a fucking father.
Well, and it seems out of step with the times. Like, it seems like those types of jokes of like, oh, dads don't know how to change a diaper. Dads don't know, like, the pacifier or whatever. Like, come on, like that feels antiquated. Like,
he didn't even smack his child when it cried. Whoa. Hey! I mean, what are we doing? This is 2023. Why are we celebrating mediocrity? Jesus, it drove me crazy. It bothered me. That commercial stayed with me in the most negative way. It's literally been bothering me for a week now, which maybe I have too much time on my hands, which is not true, but it's really been bothering me. The antiquated stereotypes. It feels like something right out of like the late 80s that you would get. I don't know. It drove me crazy.
How many times do you suppose Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul have been pitched a Breaking Bad reunion commercial?
Yeah.
And why do you suppose they picked some chip I've never heard of?
Well, popcorners are delicious. I'm actually a big fan of popcorners.
Okay.
They are light. They come in very delicious flavors. You can eat like a whole bag and not feel bad about yourself. I mean, you probably should feel bad about yourself, but you don't.
Popcorners, if you want to sponsor us, feel free. Reach out.
It's even though, because we're covering Your Honor, where Cranston this season is sporting just epic beards. So it was really startling seeing him in like the shaved head, Walter White, like callback. I think that actually made me like the commercial more. I love Breaking Bad. I love these two together. I was super happy for the nostalgia kick to see them back. I didn't care what the product was, truly.
If you check out Cranston's Instagram, you can find the makeup process to get him back into Walter White mode and putting on like the bald cap and blending it all in, and pretty cool because he had both he and Aaron Paul had posted the commercial a few days before the Super Bowl, so you could check it then.
How do you guys feel about them releasing all of the commercials before the Super Bowl? You could basically watch the entirety of every Super Bowl commercial days, if not weeks, before the actual Super Bowl airs.
For me, because I enjoy the commercials so much and that's what I'm watching for, I don't want to like unwrap the package before my birthday. And so I feel like, I don't know, I don't really need to see those in advance. I appreciate that they replay them a lot, quite a bit afterwards.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't really need them to do that. I understand they're doing it to, you know, start to pump up the excitement for it. I would be fine with letting them have the reveal be during the Super Bowl.
I mean, it seems like that should be the case, but with time skip technology, whatever it is, it at least gives people another venue to see the commercial. Now, releasing it ahead of time, maybe that is jumping the gun, but like, say you really liked that Nissan 300Z commercial with Barbie from that one Super Bowl all those years ago. You never got to see it again. They played it during the Super Bowl, and like that was it, except for later, much later, when they said, remember, these are the best commercials of all time, and they show that one as one of them. So maybe they're trying to not do that again.
I don't know. You're probably right. And I'm sure there's all sorts of data that the marketing companies have that show this really increases traffic and interest and all that. But Caroline, I think you said it perfectly. It's unwrapping the present early. The reason so many people watch the Super Bowl, they may not watch football at all, but it's the event status of the commercials. People are paying, like the Mets bought a commercial for the local airtime. It was a $7 million commercial for 30 seconds of airtime. I'm a Mets fan. I was fucking jazzed to see this commercial during the Super Bowl. I didn't want to watch it beforehand. I wanted to watch it in context during the event. It's like releasing the award winners of the Grammys or the Tonys or the Oscars or the Emmys beforehand. Why would you ever watch the thing? No, make me wait. Let me have some suspense. You know, I'll go to the bathroom during the game so I could be there for the commercials. It's the one time a year you get that.
At least 50% of the entire runtime feels like it's commercials. So it feels like, why would you go ahead and like, you know, send that all out? Like, nah, give us a chance. Plus, I kind of like the spontaneous feel of the commercials in the Super Bowl because, you know, all of a sudden a commercial will come on and you're like, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, because we don't watch commercials anymore.
Right.
There's actually something that's novel about them again to be able to watch them. And I do kind of want to watch it in the flow of the show. There's something to that.
And there's something, it's like the way an album is ordered, you know, like thought went into the way, you know, the track listing of an album. Yeah. So there's like a flow of, all right, Jesus, he gets us. Ooh,
he gets us.
Maya Rudolph and M&M's. Oh, by the way, I hated that commercial.
I did too.
So sick of that entire ad campaign. I'm so happy it's over. I pray it's over. The Manyas clam thing. They've been jamming these commercials down the last few weeks down our throats on all the programming that I've been unfortunate to have to watch commercials. I was so sick of it by the time I got to the Super Bowl. Then you get right into, you know, Clueless. You got, you know, Alicia Silverstone back on TV again.
They looked great. I thought all of the Clueless people that they had in the actual ad looked awesome.
But can I ask you a question? What was that commercial for?
No idea.
No idea, right? I actually had to look it up before we started recording because I was sitting here thinking, I have no idea what that commercial was for. It was for a company called Rakuten.
Oh.
Do you know what that company Rakuten is?
No.
It's a thing where they give you money back for doing something.
Okay, well, you do know. Well, you're clued into the pulse of it. I had to Google what Rakuten was. This is a multi-step thing to remember this company.
You want to know why, though? Only because, actually, their previous ads had been very effective with me, because the ad was they would give you money if you could pronounce the name of the company correctly. And so people would come up and all they would do is say the name of the company over and over and over again in the ad, because people were trying to say it right to get the money. So it was actually very effective to me. And I remember that from probably several years ago.
So this is a drug front.
Well, here's the deal. When you bring back people like Alicia Silverstone and she's wearing the Clueless outfit, I'm sorry, the majority of us are looking at her from the tip of her head to her little toes to see how she aged. I'm looking at her whole body and her face and her hair and her clothes. I didn't hear a word she said.
Me either.
Because I just wanted to see what she still looked like after all these years.
I think she said an as if. I think she threw it in as if in there. But it was the nostalgia punch of it, though. I mean, it's on my favorites list. I have a list of favorites and hated, and it's on here, and I can't tell you what the commercial was for. I literally had to look it up. I was going through, I was like, oh, I like that Clueless commercial. Could not tell you what it was for. That's probably bad marketing. That's probably a fail in the marketing. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but the last one, and you guys should go watch this commercial because I found it super entertaining and I could identify with it. It's the Bud Light on hold commercial. The premise of the commercial is this woman, either a partner or a wife, is on hold and the hold music is playing music and she's on speakerphone and she's just sitting on the couch, and then her guy comes in and he's dancing around to the music because it's like one of those upbeat, like a hold music songs, and he's dancing around. He's got a Bud Light. He gives her a Bud Light. They get up. They're just dancing around the apartment while she holds her phone on hold. It was very light. It was fun. It was, who hasn't been stuck on hold and having to listen to music?
It's what you wish your partner would do during those types of things. I wish they would bring me a beer and dance around to make the time go by faster.
Yeah. So big fan of that one. I thought that was really successful. I missed the Clydesdales. There were no Clydesdales this year.
Yeah, that was sad. That was a loss.
Yeah, I rely on Budweiser to really, hit the heartstrings, so, but the Clydesdales brought me no beer this Super Bowl.
Too bad.
Also, T-Mobile brought out John Travolta in addition to the Scrubs boys, Zach Braff and Donald Faison, who have been doing T-Mobile commercials for a while now. They added John Travolta to do a little Summer 11 remix for their ad, which was called Neighborly. So go check that one out if you just want to see John Travolta embracing his baldness, looking great. I thought he had a beard, bald head, just singing Summer Lovin'.
His full summer nights move where he puts his hand up into the air at the end, which was like, woo, he's gonna do it. Is he gonna do it? He did it.
John needs a win.
Couldn't quite hit the couldn't quite get there. Couldn't quite get there, but it worked for me though. It goes in the favorites column. So
that's supposed to be a little Danny Zuko action there that you're just doing. Whatever that was.
What I was just doing. Yeah.
Okay.
But Binky Dad, My and Yaz, He Gets Us, Love Your Neighbors, You Could Suck It, You Guys Were Horrible, and
hey, what came on right after the Super Bowl was an interesting show called Next Level Chef. This one, it was the season 2 premiere. It's on Thursdays on Fox. Now, I had never seen this show at all, but I did watch that episode because it was right on after the Super Bowl. It sucked me in. I ended up going back and watching all of season 1, which, I like cooking shows. I like Chopped. I like Top Chef. I like all that kind of stuff. This one has a little bit of a different twist to it. That it has the time component of having to cook within this certain period of time. But this whole ingredient grab thing, super interesting twist. It was like, Paul, I know you haven't seen it, right?
No, I don't watch cooking shows under my own power.
Okay. Well, so there was a platform of ingredients, and if you were in the top level of the kitchen, you had first grabs of the ingredients, but then the platform descends and it doesn't refill. So whatever gets taken from the top level is gone, and it will go to the middle level kitchen, then they can all grab ingredients, and then to the bottom level. And as you imagine, if you're in the bottom level, you got graham crackers and paste, as your ingredients. And it was not good for those people. And their levels of kitchen were all outfitted depending on what level they were on. So like if you were in the basement level, you literally had a pot that was like misshapen to make your food in. Whereas if you're in the top one, you had like smokers and foaming things and just all that like highest level everything. So it was a cool show because there was a lot of different elements that, you know, could go your way or could go like terribly wrong. So I enjoyed it a lot. I would recommend it to people, especially there's already the season 2 out. So you can go back and catch season 1. Mike, did you happen to watch Next Level Chef?
I did. So here's the thing. This is the beauty of the after show spot. I always use This Is Us as a great example of it. I never watched This Is Us. I know you guys covered it. I listened to your podcast, but I never watched the show except for the one time it was the after show after the Super Bowl. I stayed. I was interested. It sucked me in. It was the episode where the toaster oven episode of This Is Us. A very important episode.
Not the toaster oven.
What is it?
Was it the crock pot?
It was the crock
pot. It was the crock pot episode of This Is Us.
It's very important. You're talking to two This Is Us watchers. The crock pot, like, we'll never use a crock pot again.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, I get why people watch the show. But so it's an important time slot to get that after. And Next Level Chef is a great example of it. This is the season 2 premiere. I had no idea there was a season 1 of the show. And I love Gordon Ramsay. I was a Hell's Kitchen devotee from day one. I dreamed that he calls me a fucking donkey one day. I want it. I want it so bad.
Put the bread on the sides of your ears and say, what are you? Say it. You're an idiot sandwich. That's what you're supposed to say. I'm an idiot sandwich.
I love it. I mean, Kitchen Nightmare, God, the amount of places he's done in New York, it tickles me. I love Gordon Ramsay. And I didn't even know this show existed. So this is a season 2 premiere? What? Yeah, no, you gotta go back and watch season 1. I love the premise of it. I like cooking shows. I like competitive cooking shows.
If you're a Chopped watcher, then you'll definitely recognize one of the other judges, Richard Blaze, who is on, and he was like a contestant on Chopped for many, many different seasons, there for different reasons. But now he's one of the judges. And it was nice to see his face back and funny to like see him being in that mentor role. The coolest part of the prize, Paul, since you didn't watch, the winner got a year's mentorship from all 3 judges. That is like amazing. Plus like
$250,000.
Yeah. But bigger than anything. I mean, their careers were going to be guided. And what was the other interesting factor about this one was, no, Mike, I know you do watch cooking shows. You and I are very accustomed to having professional chefs versus home chefs. Super common. We see that all the time. Some grandma or somebody who's just like, you know, wows their neighbors every week with amazing food. But this one had social media chefs, which are essentially like the TikTok people who like combine ingredients and make things for just these little, 30-second video kind of things. That was a fascinating element because some of those people had no idea what ingredients were outside of, say, a grocery store, right? Like they've only seen ginger, like maybe in a jar or something, right? So like when a root just comes up on the thing, they're like, what is this? Because they're neither home chefs nor pro chefs. So they're just really freaking winging it. They were holding their own though. It was fascinating.
I think another distinction of the show is the judges, Gordon, Blaze, and the other judge whose name I'm blanking on, unfortunately, Arrington. Her last name was Arrington. They give a lot of assistance to the chefs, like a lot. Normally you see these contests and home cook, social media chef or professional chef, you're on your own to figure it out. Maybe another contestant on the show will help you. We saw in this episode and in the first season especially, there's a ton of assistants. Like they're whisking. They
were like pouring butter onto like things, like, and adding
actively
ingredients.
Helping them, telling them not only how to make things but actively helping them make things. It's a wild take. It's interesting.
But I think kind of nicer because it wasn't like judges behind a table like the peanut gallery just saying random shit like, you need to hurry up, blah, blah, blah. Like this was like, no, they were standing right next to you and they were like, you need to turn the heat up higher. You need to adjust this sauce. You need to do this. And in that, I think it really played up the mentorship or like the apprentice nature of the whole thing that I think as a watcher, actually, this is where I've learned like anything. I would not know about umami. My mom does not teach me about umami. I didn't know this stuff except for TV. So I appreciate it. I'm learning.
Who's umami?
Who's umami?
Who's umami?
Exactly.
Another show premiered this week, actually. I watched it because Tom wanted to watch it. Animal Control, the new Joel McHale comedy, premiered this week.
Oh, the big breath. Okay.
So I've said before on this podcast and otherwise, I don't like sitcoms. It's not that I don't like them. I no longer have the patience for sitcoms. That being said, this was fine. If you like Joel McHale, this is the show for you. It's Joel McHale doing Joel McHale things. Maybe even a little more mailed in than he usually is. But if you like Joel McHale, you're going to like this show. If you like workplace comedies, you're probably going to like this show. If you like seeing animals, and this is where my son's interest comes in, you're gonna like this show. The first episode featured ostriches, a weasel, some hijinks, a house almost gets burned down trying to capture a weasel in the net. Yeah, it's hijinksy. There's a guy on it who looks like he's trying to be a young Andy Samberg. It's gonna feel very familiar to you workplace comedy wise.
Sounds like Abbott Elementary, but with animals instead of children.
It's Abbott Elementary, but not nearly as funny, and with Joel McHale. So, yeah,
very much. As a teacher, I feel like they nailed it.
Yeah, maybe they're nailing the animal control world, and I'm just out of touch of what that world is like, and maybe they are nailing it. But there was an important discussion of, do we record the series going forward? And Tom chose yes, which I knew he was going to because, again, animals. But I don't know how much we're actively going to continue watching the show. I think maybe we'll give it one more to see if it settles in, because first episodes could be rough. You got to usually I like to usually give an episode 2 just to see if it settled in after the pilot. But I don't know about this one. I don't know.
Animal control in Texas is scraping like dogs and armadillos off the side of the road.
Oh God!
And not getting snakes. Like if you call them and there's a snake,
not getting snakes.
Yeah, they will tell you call a snake guy.
Like a reptile
not
dude.
Animal control. Yeah.
And if you have like a baby squirrel, also no, you have to call the squirrel people.
Yeah, it is.
There's a baby squirrel place though.
I don't think it's a fun
Oh no, I already told you. If I worked for animal control, I'd do the same thing every day. I come back every day with an empty truck and I'd say, I didn't find any.
Right.
Every day.
No roaming dogs, no feral cats.
I didn't find any that needed controlling.
Like in Texas, we have what, the feral hogs that run around. Yeah. They are not in charge of that, apparently.
No, they won't help you with that.
No, so I don't know.
Well,
what
in
it is
Seattle, in Seattle, animal control apparently they get called when a person dies and there's a dog in the house. Animal control is called. Wow. If there is an illegal ostrich farm, they are called. By the way, that will run you a $600 ticket in Seattle Animal Control. Apparently, if you're running an illegal ostrich farm, check it out. If you like any of those 3 things that I said, if you're really into workplace comedies, or you're really into Joel McHale, or you're really into animals on TV in situational comedies.
Me that. Remember when Seth MacFarlane was on SNL several years ago, and he was making fun of the new shows that were coming out, and there was the one that he called Monkey Hospital.
Yes.
Monkey I don't remember what the show was called, but he called it Monkey Hospital, and it sounds exactly like what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's like the spin-off to that.
That's the one where he did Elementary. Remember everybody kept calling it it's elementary, but he kept saying it all funky.
Or there's one called Go On, but he called it Goon.
Goon. He's like, has anyone ever seen Goon? And they're like, it's Go On.
He did that great Ryan Lochte bit.
Yes, that's funny. That's super funny.
Oh, man.
All right, listen, guys. So while I may not be into animal control, I am big into Architectural Digest and
We're finally getting that soundboard going, and I love it.
And home tours. Okay, people. So Architectural Digest is doing these amazing little mini clips. I've been watching them on YouTube, 15, 20 minutes max. Awesome celebrity homes, like getting a chance to go in. I watched one about Aaron Paul with his Idaho house. I watched one with Jared Padalecki with his Austin home. Lots of great, cool insider things that you get to see. First of all, every celebrity has a sauna. Everyone. Apparently all of us are living with toxins like fools. We should be out there sweating our toxins out. But it was a really cool glimpse because it was really short and you got a chance to kind of like get a sense of people. Kirsten Kirsten Dunst is a weirdo. That whole thing was so freaking strange.
Can I ask you a question? Did Michael Imperioli do an episode of this show?
Dude, that guy, he has loud absence of taste.
Supposedly it was his wife, though, that did it. And so I hate to be like that. Really, because we do a wonderful podcast with Beth Kushnick for Decorating the Set, Hollywood to Your Home. When we talk with her, one of the biggest things that she has talked to us about is having a good editor eye and saying like, okay, so just because I like this color or just because I like this bust in the case of his house, I should have one bust. This dude had busts in front of busts. Room, busts in front of busts. He had
gigantic artwork, and then he'd have a bust in front of that, and then he'd have something else in front of that.
The entire artwork would be hanging in front of an open bookcase. He had to actually try to pull the artwork, like pull it away from the bookcase to even just try to get a book out. Like, it was so silly.
It was all super loud colors.
Impractical.
And that was the only way that it matched, actually, was that the colors were so
they were that royal blue,
vibrant
and
loud.
Yeah.
Actually, I found this thinking Caroline might like it because it was David Harbour and Lily Allen's place together. I guess she moved into his place and he had already done it once as a bachelor pad. So this was like she and her kids moved in. And so it was kind of adapted to their coupledom with him being stepdad. In their backyard, he had two huts. One was the sauna hut and one was the cold, what do they call it, plunge or what? Yeah. So but they were right next to each other, so you could do that and then
they kind of look like outhouses, but
yeah,
but
like for a shock the system kind of thing.
Yeah, which every single celebrity had that. I mean, Aaron Paul would lay in his river and do the cold plunge and then run into the sauna. But
who had was it Gwyneth Paltrow that had the house sized
that was amazing. She
has
a spa room that is literally the size of my entire downstairs. And it's like you just walk in and it's like the entire room is a spa. So there was like a plunge pool and a sauna and a shower.
Multiple showers just
everything.
Around like a bathhouse.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it was like aspirational for some of us. And then also just kind of, sexy decorating porn. Like, I'm just like, I love the organization some people had, or I loved the various choices that they made, especially, my God, the amount of them that looked like they practically lived in a resort was like, wow, like
some were
remarkable.
Some were like, I spend the money I earn on this and I want it to be perfect. Other people are like, do you remember Meet the Parents when the ex-boyfriend is like, these are reclaimed timbers from a seaman's chapel off the coast of Nantucket. Remember that bit?
Owen Wilson is so good. It's pretty spot on. and I'm like right there with it.
And that is how some of these people sound. I think Gwyneth Paltrow's house or Mandy Moore's house was like the same thing. It's all reclaimed. Everything's reclaimed. Well, I didn't buy anything
same with
new.
Aaron Paul. Aaron Paul was the funniest thing of that whole thing was the sauna was made from a tree that they drug from the bottom of a lake. Just to prove to us they didn't cut any trees down, which I was like, okay, I like applaud your,
and was it like reusable 3 barns like sewn together
from Wisconsin that they moved from Wisconsin to Idaho. Yeah, I mean, it was wild, but again, cool. Like,
it was an awesome place.
Things that people don't think about, and it was just, I don't know. I think it's really fun for like 15 minutes. If you're getting ready in the morning, you're sick of watching like the Today Show. You don't want to see, whatever the football scores from last night or what the weather is or whatever crap. You don't want to see that. Turn on this for 15 minutes while you're putting your shoes on, brushing your hair, whatever, is one of those things where it just made me be like, rad, like that house was so cool. Or, boy, that person's a fucking freak. And like their style is so wild compared to my own.
Yeah, like I turned
this all tracks.
Yeah.
This all tracks because I'm listening to a comedy podcast this week. A completely non sequitur. Someone made a comment of, it's like a tour through Michael Imperioli's tactless mishmash of decorated home. It was like a real rag, and it was so out of left field. I was like, how would they know? But it was. But now I understand. And now I understand. And I found it funny without the context of it, but now it makes it sound even funnier.
Okay, well, that's amazing, and I love that.
There was also a pretty universal aspect of if it was a couple that the husband would speak over the wife all the time.
Oh, that's not a great look. Were they all Binky Dads? Was this what it was?
Some of the wives were like David Harbour and Lily Allen. They're equally famous in some ways. Maybe David Harbour's a little more famous these days, but I mean, she's not unfamous. Or John Stamos and his wife. His wife is also an actress, but much, much, much younger than he is.
She was like 12.
What was the cool thing about their place? They had a Disneyland D, right?
They had the entire Disneyland sign, but he only put up the D. He had the rest in storage. But it was
that's subliminal. He only puts up the D.
It was a 19-foot tall D in his backyard with the... Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Runaway Minecar Disney ride. He has Grumpy's car. Like, it's just in his backyard. So it's like one of the roller coaster ride cars. And like they were just sitting in it, chatting with the AD, like cameraman. But yeah, and like Elvis's jumpsuit and like loads of others. They had a Can Girl from Small World. They had all this stuff in their house. It was wild, but cool. Like, that's stuff you don't see.
Best couple, though, Robert Downey Jr. and his wife. They live in a windmill, and it is completely unassuming. And except for the fact that they live in a windmill, you wouldn't know that this is Iron Man. It was cool.
How very Dr. Doolittle of him.
And it had like really neat aspects to it. It kind of had lighthouse type features. So if you imagine like that spiral staircase that you would expect in like a lighthouse, it had like that kind of stuff with like little room like for her office and stuff that was upstairs. It was cool.
They had a junk room, and they were like,
they were so funny. They opened the door to the junk room though. That was piled high with just like obviously shit that didn't work with like what they were trying to make the rest of the house look like. So that, but cool of them for showing that. They were the most like down to earth people I'd like to have dinner with. They seemed super nice and relaxed. Like they were not there to wow AD. Like other people were like they had spit polished their buttholes for this, and this was like Robert Downey Jr. was like, take me as I am, baby. Like this is it.
And he had a zombie yard art or something.
Oh yes, they had. Okay, do you know this is so funny? Do you know how they have those specifically, Mike? You've seen this up north, where it's usually a Canadian goose, plastic Canadian goose out front, but the wings, when the wind blow, makes it look like they're flapping.
They like spin around. Sure.
Imagine though if that was a zombie and the arms were going as if it was coming for you. That was their little silly yard art, and it was just a dinky little thing. Like it was silly, but they were like laughing about it. Like they didn't like put it away and be like, oh, that's not, sophisticated enough for Architectural Digest. They were like, this is our zombie. Like,
this is who we are. Yeah. You asked us to be on this show, and this is what you're getting.
They were great.
So.
It was cool. It was cute. So I definitely recommend you guys go check it out. There's so many different people from, like the highest end people you could think of down to like very relatable homes that were like, you could have bought that home yourself.
Let's switch topics here because I'm pretty clued in on names of shows that are on TV, streaming or otherwise. Even if I don't watch them, I pride myself on staying up to date on what's on. There's something on our list here that I have never heard of called The Murdaugh Murders. Who's watching this show? And you
Everyone
need to tell me about
America.
it.
Everyone is watching. We were literally watching parts of it at the gym today.
Oh man,
yeah.
Mike.
How have I not heard about this show? This is a Netflix show,
yeah? It's not a show. The man's on trial currently for killing his wife.
And there are shows.
That's why I don't know about it.
Yeah, so it's not my cup of tea. It's not a show like, it's not like, is it going to get a season 2 kind of show? It's not a show like that.
There's a 3-part HBO Max documentary.
That's the one we watched.
There's one on Hulu and there's one on Netflix coming out this week. And this is happening right now.
Oh, this is like a lot, like they're almost like streaming it.
You can turn on YouTube TV and watch today's
trial
highlights from the trial today. The prosecution closed today.
Yeah.
This is happening right now, but they've
now
already
I feel
got the
silly and checked out that I don't know about
It's okay. It's totally cool, but
the documentaries are already ready is the crazy thing.
Yeah, and the trial's still actively going on, and like these documentaries are like done. Like the 3-part HBO Max one is like done and out. So listen, this is a crazy, crazy story. You guys go. It's only a 3-parter. The Murdaugh murders that we watched. I thought they did a great job of laying out everything about this family and what you needed to know for like the background, because it really just brought you to the point of the trial.
Yeah.
Because the trial is actively going on right now and is literally on every station. Like if you are like sitting in a waiting room somewhere, it's on. It's on everywhere.
It's the Casey Anthony, the OJ, the whatever of the moment right now.
For sure. And it's just such a sketchy situation. This father has so many different motives, but at the same time, the actual, like, the wife and the son were shot with 2 different guns. It's all very wild. And of course the guns have not been found. And
imagine, Mike, if the same family patriarch had held the DA position in your county since 1920.
Oh my God.
Well, that's what's going on. So Murdaughs have been the solicitor.
They are the law.
Mm-hmm. And so they are the law. Both of their sons have had situations where someone died when they're around. And then the father, I mean, just so many, I think it was 70 counts.
90 counts of fraud.
90 counts of fraud having to do with billing. Mike, you'll appreciate this as a lawyer.
You'll love this.
Check this shit. He would take on clients, get the multi-million-dollar settlement. He would write the check out to Forge, which apparently there's a Forge Consulting who actually handles like doing payouts for that kind of thing. But he just would write Forge and then went to the bank and made an account that said Alex Murdaugh doing business as Forge. And so he was just putting them all in his own bank account. And none of the clients were ever getting their settlements. So that was 90 counts of fraud for that. But that's unrelated, supposedly, to the death of the child, who was 22.
Right,
and
that just goes
wife.
to character. On the current track.
So you have to take a couple of classes about not being a bad lawyer and things that can happen to you. And truthfully, there's very little that can get you in trouble as a lawyer. You could do a lot of things and not get disbarred. The one thing you can't do, it's literally the one thing you can't do, is steal client money.
He literally paid out
really,
like
really
no one.
like the only. I mean, it's a big book of like model rules of professional practice.
Let's see where
the only thing that'll get you disbarred though will be stealing client money.
Let's see where this falls on your meter then. The story concocted by HBO Max's documentary team suggests that the Murdaugh family needed money, and so they pushed their housekeeper down the stairs, cracking her head open and basically killing her right there. In some accidental fashion. They get their friend lawyer to represent that lady's sons in the whatever you need to do in order to claim your
basically it
insurance
was like
money.
It was like they had a homeowner's insurance policy on their house and like their property for several $1 million. It was like $4 million or something like that.
Right.
And this is in South Carolina. So where she fell was down these really big set of staircase that goes up to the front porch. They're like built up off the ground by several feet for flooding because this is in low country in South Carolina.
So yeah, they represent the sons. They get it. They do get a settlement, but they don't. But Murdaugh and his friend don't tell the sons that anything was settled. It was for like $5 million. So after whatever fees happened to be taken out, there was still like $4 million left to go straight into Murdaugh's personal account.
Yeah, like just crazy. So that's a third death, Mike. That's not the death with the older boy that he was involved with or the younger boy who was involved with another girl's death. Oh, so many. It's so crazy. And the death of the son and the mom it's so nuts, and it was so destructively graphic. Like I can't even, like the boy was shot with a shotgun at close range. It shot off everything but just like from his eyebrows to his chin, like, but everything behind that part was gone. His brain like went up into the air and like landed back down by his feet. It's insane. Okay. It's freaking insane. But then the mother is shot with.
This is the weird part, Mike, is that there were 2 different long guns used. So the
shotgun,
the son was
the son.
Right, shotgun with the boy, and an AR style rifle with the wife, and she was shot in like
running away,
like the wrist, the leg, the back, and then finally twice in the head after she was down.
Like down on the ground. Super freaking crazy. But because of the one boy, the boy that got killed, and this Paul is his name, he had been involved in this boating accident where this other teenager died. This girl died. And so there was all these threats revolving around the boating accident from 2019 that like basically there was going to be some sort of justice because no justice was ever served about that. He was nothing happened to him because of that. It's just crazy. It's fraught with all these weird layers, all of this like privilege, and it's just nuts. So yeah, if you guys want to have a good watch and you want to kind of get up to date with what's going on with the trial, go watch one of these specials that are on, like Paul said, Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu.
I swear to God, I thought you guys were going to say it was something like Father Dowling Mysteries. Really had no idea.
No, you know us better than that. Come on.
Hey, Tom Bosley was awesome in that show.
Yeah, well, sure, but we're not watching any of that. Really, I mean, you know, this has got to go probably in our true crime podcast segment sometime because there's
sounds like we got to fire up the RSS feed for the old true crime podcast and get that going.
So much, Mike. There's so many layers, and every part is crazy. Everyone involved, from housekeepers to his law partners to his siblings to everyone's got weird stuff going on.
Today and yesterday was all about like electronic forensics.
Oh my God, did we learn so much?
Dude, they can keep track of when your phone changes orientation, even if it's not on.
Mike, they did a thing with this part was amazing to me because I put it together before they said it and I felt so proud. I felt like a little Nancy Drew. They did this chart where they could show the time and they could show the number of steps that the phone said that you had taken, and then do like a how many, you know, steps did you take in this amount of time, like basically your stride. And there was like one point, which was right after supposedly the time of death, where you could see he took like
700 steps.
700 steps in like 8 minutes or something like that. And I was like, he was running.
Yeah.
He was running at that point. But like, I'm like proud of myself. I'm like, oh, he was running. Because he claims he wasn't even at the house at this point.
They had like a little spreadsheet where they showed like the steps per minute calculation given
like,
the check-ins.
Oh my God, he was running.
And his
like,
average was like 20 steps, 5 steps, 3 steps, 20 steps, 70 steps.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
okay.
Yeah. So I felt like I was very much a part of solving the mystery. I was like, he was running. I don't know. It's really, really, really crazy. And please, Mike, we forgot the best part, really. After 90 days after the murders of the son and the wife, he hires, quote, cousin Eddie to shoot him. So he's driving on the highway and he is shot in the head. And then he claims, like, he tries to act like at first, like, oh no, this is all, now they're trying to come after him. It was like a hitman kind of thing. But then he just admits it that no, he hired this person.
And it just didn't work out.
What? It's so crazy.
You see why they're rushing to get it on 3 different networks.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like actively playing. You can watch the everyday tiny courthouse that has like stanchions in front of the door to try to keep people.
You can hear
away.
The traffic going by it's like our podcast. You can hear the traffic going. That's where they're having this big trial going on.
It's so wild. It's so wild.
That's crazy. Yes. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Well, so there's still some more shows we want to talk about, but I think we should put a pin in them for this week. Let's get on to movie talk because we've got Picard premiered Picard season 3 premiered. You've got Kunk on Earth, which I'm dying to talk to you guys about because I found it really funny. There's 1923's season finale coming up next week. So we have stuff. Let's put a pin in all that. Let's talk about that next week. I want to get to Marvel talk because it's actually a big week for the MCU. Lots of news coming out. Mandalorian 3 dropped its trailer. Mandalorian season 3 coming out on March 1st. It was announced this week. They dropped their first long trailer. Marvel's just today, right before we started recording, was pushed from a summer release to November 10th. That just came out today. So Brie Larson, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to see her and all of the Marvels. But the big news today, opening this weekend, the long-awaited start of Phase 5, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, comes out this weekend. Paul,
yes.
You are our man on the spot. You have to give us our first review because critics are panning this movie. It's rated rotten on Rotten Tomatoes for the critics, but fans seem to be giving it good scores initially. I'm curious what your in-house take is.
I initially saw a lot of comparisons to Star Wars. After seeing it, I can I can understand of that. There's a lot of very similar imagery. It feels like a very tight and compact and compressed amount of story that they told in 2 hours and 5 minutes. Well, a lot of superhero movies these days are running well over that. This one told as much as those other stories, but in a much shorter amount of time. And there's a lot that happens. And there's a couple of concepts such as, I'm not like the tried and true, I didn't tell you to protect you kind of thing that gives you the springboard for how Kang even kind of came to be in this storyline. And that kind of wears out its welcome well after it's still being applied. But it is cool to see like Michelle Pfeiffer back in superhero mode. Haven't seen that since like Catwoman doing her whatever you might call it, but she's as superheroic as the rest of them in this one. Lots of cool aliens and visuals to see. I would not admit that these are the best visual effects I've ever seen. There are way too many scenes where you're just very aware that we are in a green screen world here because you've seen much better stuff done 10 years ago. I don't know what the deal is for that, but there's plenty of charm to it. There's some weird jokes. There's like a running like don't be a dick joke, which is kind of catches you off guard because there's not really a lot of language in the movie except for when there is.
What kind of age range would you say for this one? Like, is this one you can take like little kids to, or what's the sitch?
There's a big climactic scene that does end with at least I'm not a dick kind of comment. And if dick talk is okay for your little one, then yeah, you're fine. Because the violence isn't really bloody, I would say. There's a couple of good smackaroos that happen, but overall they're not like that. When the violence happens, it's very science fiction-y, someone kind of poofing into a blue lightning or something like that. So yeah, I think whatever age range is normally associated with the MCU is still okay with this one. It's just that it's very fast, very like the story moves super fast. And if Cassie had just listened to her dad, everything would have been fine. So as a dad, I'm looking at you, Cassie, for blowing up the MCU this year.
I'm nodding my head in cathartic appreciation of that moment.
And this is the third Cassie to your PS. Father.
Listen to your father.
Exactly.
The two of you guys. That might be the name of this podcast.
But she gets all up in his ass about not being heroic anymore. And he's like,
I hate when my kid is in my ass. That's
I'm
horrible.
Just being a dad here,
Having your kid in your ass is not comfortable.
It's not. And she goes and ruins the world. So
offhand comment that you mentioned, I have to go back to Animal Control a second. In the pilot towards the end of the episode, there is an offhand comment made about believing in Santa Claus, which was unnecessary. Not that anything horrible is said, but it's the kind of thing where a kid could turn to the parent and be like, what did he mean by that? So just putting you on there if that is a thing that you're sensitive to. It made me turn my head. So me and my son are very much into a don't ask, don't tell relationship about Santa Claus these days.
And so we in this house.
So I don't want any discussion of it being triggered. Talk to me about Kang, because Kang is introduced. He's played by Jonathan Majors. He's introduced in Loki, which was a big MCU TV show hit on Disney Plus last year. I'm hearing good things about his performance. I'm hearing maybe he's the best part of the performance. Is he worth going to alone, even if you're not necessarily into the Ant-Man and Wasp characters?
Yes, he's good. He is going to be the Phase 5 baddie, because he is Legion, basically. There's not just, I don't want to say anymore, but yeah, he's going to be around for a while as a presence, and he has a full range of emotion that he pulls out of the character. You want to know more about why he feels the way he feels. Maybe he's not quite as compelling as Thanos, or at least I found Thanos on multiple viewings of Infinity War and Endgame. I look forward to seeing more from Kang. And so with that, definitely be advised that there are a mid-credit and a post-credit seen.
Always good to know. It's something I have to Google every single time I go to a Marvel movie. How long am I staying for the credits?
This one is not an ant playing a goddamn drum set. This is
You know what? Man, that was worth it for me. Listen, get down with yourself, ants. I love it. Yeah.
When you gotta pee and you're like, no, man, I just gotta see the thing, and then it's an ant playing a drum set. Nah,
not cool.
You could have caught that later.
That's funny.
Well, I'm excited for this one. This is the kind of stuff that's going to get me to the theaters. I'm going to go see it next weekend. I will not be seeing it this weekend, but I'm going to see it next weekend with Tom, and I'm very jazzed for it.
There's some cool previews too of stuff on the very near horizon that looks very watchable. Like I might need to go see it.
So you guys, I'm going to admit to something that's embarrassing this week.
More than not knowing about the Murdaugh murders going on right now, literally as they happen, because I think that might be embarrassing for a lawyer to admit.
Technically, they got murdered in 2021. So
the trial, Caroline, the trial, it's happening now.
Mike, you're behind by 2 years, is what I'm trying to tell you.
I'm actually worse than I felt. Okay.
No, this is an embarrassing thing. Okay, so I watched the movie Fargo, which I loved, and I watched way back in the theater when it came out in the 90s, and it was a great movie then. It's a great movie now. However, at the very beginning of the movie, it says this is based on a true story. And I was gobsmacked. At my age now, I was like, I can't believe this whole time I haven't known that Fargo was a true story. That's crazy. So I watched the whole thing and I come back and I tell everybody, you guys, you'll never believe it. This was a true story. And then I go to my trusty Google and look it up. And it is number one on every list of movies that faked you out that said they were true, with like Blair Witch Project and other ones all listing under it. And I was like, I'm a boob. I'm a walking boob. I cannot believe that I thought that was real. But you guys, it holds up. It is a fantastic movie. There's so few movies that I feel like from, we watch Pulp Fiction. We have some of these, that stuck with us, but so few actually kind of hung on that still really hold up. And this one does, you guys. It was super good and really short. It was like much quicker than I expected. So go out and go watch that again, you guys. If you haven't seen it,
where is it? Is it streaming on any of the services?
I watched it on, how you say, an aeroplane. So I don't actually know where you can find Fargo, but go take a look. I'm sure you can find it online. Streaming.
Peter Stormare, 1923, and Fargo. He's the dead captain in 1923.
Oh, Luca. Rest in peace.
Yeah, the dead sea captain.
You coughing bastard.
And he's the psycho killer in Fargo.
There you go.
He was the Russian astronaut in Armageddon.
No one's going to give me any shit about being embarrassed about this true story thing.
No, why would we?
No one's going to make fun out of me because I thought for sure I was going to be like,
continue to believe the Blair Witch Project was real even after I was told it was fake. I was like, I know they're saying that, but I also think maybe it really was real.
Listen to me,
I held on to the Blair Witch Project for months, it being real, even after it was debunked that it was not a real film footage.
I am an audience member who believes you. So if you put it up on the screen at the beginning that says that the names were changed to protect people and this is a true story, I'm going to listen to you.
They really took it the piss out of you, eh?
You shouldn't watch the Conjuring series then, because that'll fuck you up.
Guess what? That would fuck me up for a lot of reasons. I'm not watching that.
You can watch Fargo if you have a Star subscription. It is available on Stars right now.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, so here is another one that I watched that I think you watched as well, Mike, right?
I did.
Okay, so this one is called The Menu. You guys, wow. I was taken aback. Now, I am a scare baby because you brought up The Conjuring, and I can't really do like straight up horror. This was like thriller, suspense, horror. Like there was some gore, don't get me wrong, there was some gruesome looking things and whatnot, but it really maintained this like seriousness level that didn't get into that. Like, I'm not scared of boogeyman's coming from the menu to come get me, but the scenario, the setup for the whole thing, it was excellent. What did you think, Mike?
I loved it. I thought it was a really great premise. I love Ralph Fiennes. I'm always a fan when he shows on. I really do see him as Voldemort always, even when he has a nose, like a 3D nose and not just a snake slit. I still see him as Voldemort. He's great. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. She's in it. John Leguizamo's in it. Nicholas Hoult is in it. It's a great cast. The original premise.
Judith Light, dude, freaking Judith
Light is in it.
Light.
Is she still the boss?
She was not the boss. No.
She was not the boss.
Angela?
She was most decidedly not the boss.
She was a bit of a cuck queen, in fact. So
unfortunately. But you guys, really twisty, really good. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen at all. I mean, until the last moments of everything, it was like, you can't say it's done till it's done because you did not know what was going to happen.
It's outrageous. It's an outrageous movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, they're not going to do this thing that I think they're going to do.
And
then they
just
do.
Did that. And it was 10 times worse than I thought it was going to be.
And there's a whole aspect to it. If you do like competitive cooking shows, I think you're actually going to like a whole aspect of it that maybe is lost on other people.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah,
because
it's
I
fun.
think we
it's
get
a fun
the
ride.
intensity of the kitchen staff and like how much they're like fall in
dedication
line.
To the
yeah,
craft.
They're like an army to their head chef, and there's something about the general telling you to do something that you just do without question, and the things these people do without question boggles the brain. So it was amazing. You guys definitely go check it out.
There's a part at the beginning of the movie where you think it's going to be like Knives Out, Glass Onion, but then it goes off into this outrageous horror film aspect to it. But again, not scary like it's going to keep you up and give you nightmares, but a horror movie. It's undeniably a horror movie. But
I would say thriller suspense for me.
Thriller suspense more than horror. Yes, that's a good call.
Isn't it sold
there's some gore.
Well, isn't it sold as like a satire? So it's definitely like a, what would you call it?
Well, there's a whole classism thing. It's taking on classism and entitlements
it could
but a heightened sense of reality where you're not going to think you're going to go to this exclusive island.
No,
no, you would never be in this situation. That's what I mean. Like, I'm not scared that anyone from that movie is coming to get me. Like, it's not like that. It's not that type of horror. It's a whole. It's so absurd and, like Mike said, so outrageous that it's just it's crazy.
Yeah, but totally worth a watch. It's on HBO Max. You can go grab it there. It was in the theaters in 2022. It was nominated. I can't remember if it won some Golden Globes. It was not nominated for any Oscars, but still definitely worth a watch. It was a fun 2 hours.
Looks like one of those pandemic era scripts where they needed to keep the cast and the set and everything super small so they could just kind of like the outfit. You know, the whole thing takes place in one room.
That's practically the same thing.
There's a claustrophobic aspect to it in the fact that they do stay literally almost in one room the entire movie. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of claustrophobia even to it. If that's going to be a trigger for you, that's definitely going to heighten the experience, I think.
Glass Onion is probably a really good comparison in a lot of ways.
As the goofy mystery satire cousin to it, but things that wouldn't happen to you unless you were super rich and got invited to a super exclusive island.
Right.
So.
What was the name of that one? I want to say it was like Hide and Seek or something. What was that one where the girl goes to the dinner party and then she ends up being like it was a couple years back.
Yes.
Where they're all going to go hunt her or whatever. You know, like, this is totally surreal. You're never going to be having these same circumstances, but it's all crazy.
Ready or Not, that's what it was. Samara Weaving was great, and I had never seen her before, and she really impressed me in that movie. She's the one invited to the fiance's house, and then they hunt her. But Ready or Not, actually, a good comparison, except for in a house instead of on an island. But I would go watch that one too. I like that movie. So
this week, you guys, we have an extra special music segment for you.
Musical guest, Billy Joel.
Nice. I don't know if it's all like that, but okay. So you got a chance to go to the Billy Joel concert.
At the Garden. Billy Joel has been doing a residency now for several years at the Garden, basically where he plays once a month, unless he's doing some other tour stop somewhere in the world. He basically plays once a month at Madison Square Garden. I am a huge Billy Joel fan. He is hands down and by far my favorite singer-songwriter. Led Zeppelin's my favorite band. Billy Joel is my favorite solo artist. So I was super jazzed to see him. I've seen him a lot, but I haven't seen him in a long time. It's been years and years and years since I've seen him in concert. So it was great to kind of see him again. I thought he was great. He still sounds great. He has this real grandpa energy about him, like feisty grandpa kind of energy about him. And it's 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours of his greatest hits put together with some covers that him and the band like to do, put together with a couple of like deep cuts that like the real fans get. Like he plays Fantasy. He played Fantasy in this concert, which is not something he plays all of the time. And it's kind of a deep cut. If you just know him from the radio, you probably don't know this one, but I love it. So it was great. It was a really great time. If you have the opportunity to, and you are remotely familiar with Billy Joel, you're going to have a good time. The crowd energy is infectious. Everyone is singing the entire time. You're going to know even if you're not a Billy Joel fan, if you listen to the radio regularly in the last 30 years, 40 years, you're going to know a lot of the songs. Probably 3/4 of the songs you would have heard at least once on the radio, and you'll be able to move along with, and the crowd energy will sweep you up. It's an experience. It's not something that's inaccessible. You may not have heard of any Billy Joel songs, and I think you're walking out of there having had a good time.
Can he still hit all the notes? He's got some pretty high ones on some of those songs.
He does. He has this like fun thing before he does, I believe it's Innocent Man. He has this little, let me be frank conversation with the audience. There's some high notes in the song. He doesn't necessarily hit them as well as he used to. I know you'll boo me if I don't hit them.
Poor dude.
Yeah, it's very self-deprecating. He's like, I'm going to do my best. I'm up here. I'm trying to do my best I can. You guys let me know what you think. And of course, he doesn't hit it perfectly, but he hits it pretty freaking close for a guy who's in his 70s. And the crowd goes nuts because on top of the fact he knows what he's doing, he's self-deprecating.
Right.
He's already
totally
putting us
set
in
it up, right?
Right. Unless he just took a shit on the stage when he goes to hit it, people are going to be like, "You're amazing!" And you know what? He is amazing. So take your flowers, Billy.
We saw Aerosmith a few years ago, and there's a moment when they introduced the band, including the people that don't make the album cover, the keyboards or the percussion or whatever. And Steven Tyler said something to the effect, the keyboard, or more like the synthesizer guy, that said something like, and he's the guy that makes sure I still sound like me, or something like that let us really know he's totally sampled into the keyboard for those notes that he can't hit anymore. So that it still sounds like the album.
Kind of amazing, huh?
Technology does a lot of heavy work.
But I give credit to these guys who are still out there. They're still doing it,
He had orthopedic shoes, but he was still out there.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Billy Joel had this great riff. One of the early songs they did a cover of Start Me Up by the Stones. And he said before, he's like, I'm no Mick Jagger. And then literally throughout the entire song, it's one of the few songs he's not at the piano for. He's standing at the mic and he's doing all the Mick Jagger moves with his hands, out to the sides and doing duck walks and the chicken move. And he's bobbing his head and pursing his lips. He's really playing to the crowd. And it was great. And he sounded great. He's got a great band with him. A lot of the guys, unless they've died, almost the entire band since the late 70s, early 80s is still playing with him. There only one notable person has left the band who is still alive. That's his former drummer, Liberty DeVito. But otherwise, the rest of the band has basically been with him forever or is newish and really fits into the groove. And he spreads it around. They did 2 different Led Zeppelin songs, and as well as a Puccini aria, tenor aria, and the one guy who plays guitar, his name is Mike, not me. He sang all three of the songs and did a wonderful job. The backup singer that they have, who's also playing on some percussion instruments, she got a couple of songs, sounds fantastic. Like, he really spreads it around. He always credits the soloists with their name. It's just a fun time. It's like being at a party with some really cool guys that definitely probably drink a lot of beer before and afterwards. And, just trying to still get it done in their later years. So
it's a great job.
Great.
You mean I don't have to learn any more songs and I still get to work? Sign me up.
Well, and there's something, we've seen a couple of people who have residencies in Vegas, and there's something about the bands who do that where they're so comfortable, like they're so relaxed in their environment. You don't get that same sense of like a touring band. Like, I just came to this city for one night and then we're getting out of here in 2 minutes. It's like they're so much more relaxed, and it's like you're in their living room with them because they do this all the time. So I feel like I love residencies because it's a whole different vibe. It's like, welcome to my house.
River of Dreams was Billy Joel's last rock album he put out, and this August will be the 30th anniversary of that album coming out. He hasn't put out a brand new rock song. He has a classical album, I believe a double album he put out around the turn of the millennium. But rock albums, he hasn't put out a new song since 1993. And he doesn't have to. He's got hundreds of songs he can draw from, going back to 71, Cold Spring Harbor, and that's fine because he has so many identifiable hits, and he has so many deep cut songs that weren't big radio hits that the fans appreciate, that they long to hear in concert and hear live. He doesn't alter a lot of the songs either, so a lot of the songs sound exactly like they sounded on the album, except for a certain few that he always fudges with. So like when he does River of Dreams, if you know the song, there's an aspect to the song where before they get to the chorus, the beat gets longer and longer. The pause gets longer and longer every time they approach it in the song. Before the third one, the band always goes into another song. They riff on it for a minute or two, and then they come back and end River of Dreams. So like he's got these things where there are certain songs he does futz with, but he always does it in a reliable way. So it's a great combination of a live experience together with songs that are played exactly like they are on the album, so you could sing along to them. He's really got the whole formula down. It's a great time. Go see Billy Joel, throw him all your money. He needs it. So he's got a lot of ex-wives, and he's got shit to pay. So, yeah.
Well, that's going to take the place of our book talk for this week. So, listeners, we want to know, what are you guys watching? Talk to us and tell us anything that you want us to be watching if you want some feedback on.
I saw something, the money train for Westworld continues. I didn't realize that the costs for expensive shows like that are amortized over time. Not only is it that they have to pay the contracts for the lead actors that were committed to a season 5, but apparently they're still having to pay for the production of seasons past without new show to promote.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Sadly, we lost another icon this week. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about celebrity deaths, and there were a lot. A few weeks ago, this week, we lost Raquel Welch, who was only 82. I feel like she had to have been older. But, a bombshell from a golden era of Hollywood gone. Paul, I think it was you pointed out that Josh Holloway and J.J. Abrams are having a reunion for a new show. What do you know about this show, Duster?
I don't know anything about this show, except I know that J.J. Abrams has not had any luck since Rise of Skywalker. He's had things get just tossed out of development, out of deals. Just nothing is working for J.J. right now.
Well, which is crazy because he's got the 9-figure deal with Warner Media, which he signed in 2018. And this is going to be the first project that actually comes to fruition from that deal. It's 4 years old now. He's proposed a bunch of shows, a movie, and it's all been shit canned. And this one is the one that's finally going to go.
They haven't said whether or not his Black Superman show or movie is going to happen, but I mean,
I imagine with the shift in balance of power in the DCU, I think that's probably not going to see the light of day.
No.
That would be my guess, right? Because you would think Gunn would have mentioned J.J. Abrams being on board for Bad Robot. I think
so, right. And then similarly with Josh Holloway, he's been a leading man in need of a leading role since Colony ended quite a while ago now. And so
right.
I'm excited to see him back. It's just, I don't know if it's been like a shortage of suitable projects or roles or what, but I'm glad to see him back. I don't know that he's like the lead, but he is kind of maybe the biggest name of those mentioned.
So it looks like I did a little bit of research into it after I saw you put it on the list. So Rachel Hilson was actually added to the cast this week. People will know her from Love, Victor, and she was also on This Is Us. The show is going to follow her. It looks like she's actually the lead.
Okay.
It's set in 1972. It's a period drama. 1972 in the Southwest. It follows the first black female FBI agent, that's Hilson, as she recruits a gutsy getaway driver, that's Holloway, to take down a crime syndicate. Among other co-stars named, Keith David, who I'm a huge fan of, is also announced to be in the cast. So I don't know. I mean, people forget that J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot were involved in Lost, actively involved in the beginning of that series. And so it's a nice little reunion for those two. And then we get to see Rachel Hilson too and see what she can do. So I love a good period drama. But that alone, Bad Robot, J.J. Abrams is one of those people that I will always initially watch anything he does. There are a couple of those super producers and showrunners that I just like what they do, so I'm always willing to give it a chance. So yeah, and Josh Holloway is, he's always fun to watch on TV.
Westworld was also a Bad Robot. They had a part in it. I don't know that they were like the big deal, but they had a part in it. So yeah, like when I say JJ has not had a good run since Rise of Skywalker, I'm including that too.
For you guys who are thinking, who did Rachel Hilson play on This Is Us? She played Teenage Beth, like when she was like the young ballerina. That's Rachel. So she was wonderful. She was wonderful, and she's beautiful and a great actress. So that'll be a really fascinating combination with her and Josh.
We mentioned that Mandalorian got its season 3 release date. We mentioned that earlier. It'll be out on March 1st. Also announced, people were very excited. Ted Lasso's season 3 premiere was announced for this week. It'll premiere on March 15th, and that's going to be a 12-episode season that will take it all the way to the very end of May. I think around May 31st will be the season finale. So you'll be spending your spring with Ted Lasso and the Mandalorian.
If you are,
we need some Ted.
If you watched Mandalorian but decided not to watch Book of Boba Fett, or maybe you watched the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, were like, I don't like this. You probably need to watch the last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett so that you can be ready for the beginning of the Mandalorian, because stuff changes in the Mandalorian story.
Boba Fett, the back end of Boba Fett really acted like a season 2B of the Mandalorian, honestly.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
which was not a bad thing. I mean, I think that actually helped that show. It helped me finish that show anyway. So I'm ready for more Baby Yoda. So let's go Grogu. It's the Baby Yodas. A couple of more renewal news this week. I think that's actually how we're pretty much wrapping this up. Poker Face, that show that I have only gotten 15 minutes into on Peacock. I think 2 weeks ago I said I was going to give it a go. I have made it 15 minits in.
Oh no, did it not suck you in, or did you just run out of time?
I ran out of time, but I could have pushed it, but it hadn't sucked me in yet to make the time to watch it. I will finish it. I will at least finish the first episode. But yeah, it didn't immediately bowl me over. Natasha Lyonne is doing a heavy accent, and who's the big nose guy? He did the Stephen King Salem's Lot adaptation. Oh fuck, I'm blanking on his name.
Salem's Lot adaptation.
Yeah, remember you watched a little bit. It was on AMC, I think. Shit, he's got the giant nose. Oh,
I mean, the Salem's Lot that's out came out in the 70s. You don't mean that, do you?
No.
They're coming out with a new one. Is that what you mean?
Nope. It was the one that was based on
is Natasha Lyonne?
Oh!
Adrian Brody. Adrian Brody. So Adrian Brody's in it, which I didn't realize. He's the Adrian Brody and his nose. They're in it. Natasha Lyonne. Yeah. So I'm gonna watch the first episode.
Some clarification: is Natasha Lyonne doing her normal accent? It's just thick, or she's doing a different accent than her own?
I don't think she's doing her own. I think she's doing maybe a heightened version of her own.
Okay, because she always kind of does the heightened version of her own.
I guess, but it's even more so. Maybe I just haven't watched her recently, but it's even more than like the Orange is the New Black. Like, where she's kind of like, it's kind of like that. But it's even more. It's even more though. It's like Adrian Brody's nose. It's its own character in the show.
That's funny.
Anyway, renewed for season 2. So, awesome. I mean, I'm probably going to watch it because at least it'll be many episodes of content that I know won't be canceled and make me cry.
Well, you guys, this was another amazing week of TV and movies. We did music instead of books this week. So we definitely look forward to having you guys back. But please let us know what you guys are watching. We're super curious and we want to keep up with you guys and converse with you. Come check us out over on some of the Facebook groups. Come check us out over on Twitter. Pod Clubhouse everywhere. This is Caroline.
This is Paul.
And this is Mike, and Chapelwaite was the Salem's Lot adaptation.
Get out of here with you.
That's right.
We're over. We're done. You can't stay here.
Mike's
Thank you for listening to the Pop Culture Review podcast.
What the hell was that?
That's Mike.
Well, allow me to retort.
Thank you for listening to the Pop Culture Review podcast. If you wouldn't mind heading over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe. While you're there, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps us not talk about Adrian Brody's nose, because I don't want to do that anymore. That makes me sad.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.